I'm Mariefiebach of feedyourfamilytonight.com, and today we are making a special treat that I like to make on Valentine's Day for my children. It is a berry and cream cheese Danish, and it really is simple when you use a few simple ingredients. We start by making the berry part, and for that I like to use frozen berries. I've made it with frozen strawberries. Today I have a bag of frozen raspberries. We're going to use a half a pound of frozen berries. This is a 12-ounce bag, so I don't need to quite use the whole thing. And to that, you're going to add a tablespoon of water, 2 tablespoons of water, and 2 tablespoons of sugar. You're going to bring this up to medium-high heat and let it cook for about 8 to 10 minutes until the berries are all bubbling and melted. And then you're going to add a cornstarch slurry. It's a tablespoon of cornstarch and a tablespoon of water. And when you add that to the boiling berries, it's going to quickly thicken them up into a jam-like texture. I have some strawberries here that I've already done, and you can see that it's kind of a cross between a pudding and a jam, and it makes this perfect filling for the Danish. The second part of the filling is the cream cheese part. I'm using just half of a block of cream cheese, so 4 ounces of cream cheese. It's important to let it come to room temperature before you start mixing in the sugar and the egg yolks. You're going to add 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla, and 1.5 teaspoons of egg yolk. Now, how do you get 1.5 teaspoons of egg yolk? I usually just crack my egg and I just take my measuring spoon and I just scoop out 1.5 teaspoons of egg yolk. And then I like to mix it with my hand mixer to get it all well incorporated. If you don't have a hand mixer, you can just mix it with a whisk or a fork. It may not be quite as smooth, but it'll work. The base of this Danish is frozen puff pastry. You get it in a box at the grocery store, and it usually comes in a 9x9 rectangle. And I took a rolling pin and I rolled it out to a 10x14 rectangle. I'm going to cut this in to 12 pieces. So I'm cutting it in thirds and then cutting it into fourths, and I end up with 12 roughly equal squares. In the center of each of these pieces of puff pastry, I'm going to take a heaping teaspoon of this cheese and egg and powdered sugar mixture, and a heaping teaspoon of this strawberry or raspberry, whatever kind of berry you're using, mixture. And then what I do is I take 2 of the corners and I bring them to the center and I pinch them with the rest of that egg. So you have half of a yolk and all of the white. You're going to add 1 tablespoon of water. And you're just going to take a little fork and kind of mix that together. And this is creating what's called an egg wash. That is what's going to give these Danish that golden brown, shiny look. You're going to take a pastry brush and you're going to just paste any of the paste. You're going to paint with your pastry brush any of the exposed puff pastry around the top. So the edges of the points and the sides. And after you've done all of these, and then you're going to take just a teaspoon of sugar and just sprinkle a little over the top of each of these Danishes. I like to do this on a parchment paper so I can just slip it onto a baking sheet and put the baking sheet in the oven at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes. In the end, you end up with this flaky, bright berry and cheese pastry that is absolutely delicious, and it's a fun little treat for Valentine's morning. The whole recipe is at feedyourfamilytonight.com, and you can meet me in the Feed Your Family Tonight Facebook group if you ever have any questions.